Hi everyone, my name is Dimitri. The Revolution of Evolution is my new album, 10 songs, 3 years in the making. The kind of music, instrumental prog metal, which goes from all my metal influences to all my influences in general as a guitar player and musician, funk, blues, prog, you name it. And I made this album, I wrote this album, started to write this album in 2022 until 2025, when I completed the mix. I made 3 videos for this album, Undercurrent, which is the main single of the album, and then La Macchina di Cadavus, and then Ilan Vital, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Dimitri677. The album is very powerful, with a lot of heavy guitars, heavy bass, modern drumming, and the title, The Revolution of Evolution, refers to closing the cycle between my first album, which was an EP in 2008, and the new album, The Revolution of Evolution. The first album was Evolution, and this is The Revolution of Evolution. Making the album was kind of very smooth process this time, and I was very excited because I knew that I have great material in my hands, but then you never know until it gets released and I get the feedback from the media, basically. But it's going pretty good, and all the reviews are great, and there is a lot of excitement regarding this album. I think because everything is consistent, from the music to the production and to the visual, actually. As a composer and musician, my main influences are basically good music, because I believe there is good music and bad music. Hopefully I'm going to be part of the first category. As a kid, I listened to a lot of blues, and I found out in my 40s, or a little bit before that blues was there as an influence, and I could actually play that genre because I listened to a lot when I was a kid. When I was in my teenage years, I listened to a lot of Queen, a lot of Iron Maiden, Metallica, and then I moved to heavier kind of music like death metal, black metal, to assess myself into the progressive metal world, which is what I play nowadays. I played in a band called Arcadia for 20 plus years, and that was a big school, if you know what I mean. So I learned a lot of stuff. I learned how to play, I learned how to arrange, I learned how to work in the studio, I learned how to tour, and how to be in contact with fans and all this stuff, and but you can find a lot of different influences in my music, because I went to the music college and I learned how to play funky, blues, jazz, improvising always been a part of my playing. Go figure it out. I guess it was because in the 90s we didn't have so much information as nowadays in order to play cover songs, so it was very difficult to find out the notes of the original songs, so it was easier to just compose, or at least composing always been easier, and improvising always been easier comparing to learn songs from other artists, which was basically my bless, because that's why I started to be a composer instead of just a guitar player, and then later on I learned how to play other instruments and to work in the studio. So basically those has been my influences, a lot of different kinds of music that are united in a melting pot, and they are manifesting themselves in the composing process. Well, the main challenge writing the Evolution of Evolution is the main challenge which I always had, which was to make the arrangement the most smooth possible. What I mean is that the kind of music is defined as very complex and technical, If you go on Google and you Google my name, it's written Demetrio Scopelliti, Demetrio Dimitry Scopelliti, guitar player and composer, which is known for the complexity of his music. Writing complex and difficult music was never the goal. The goal was to write good music. Now, in order to write good music, you need to try to make the arrangement the smoothest as possible, because people need to listen to that, and they need to be easy to be, understood in a way. If you make it too difficult, then the listener kind of is kind of a challenge to understand that. So always been my priority to make the arrangement very easy. I never really kind of achieved that, and that kind of built up my brand as instrumental, technical, composer in a way. For this album, I managed to make everything easier to listen, and the variety of genre is displayed through the album. So I think that this album is better compared to the previous, even though I don't regret my past, in the previous album, like The Silent Watcher, 5, and The Art of Complications, which says everything by its title. But I think this album is, I wouldn't say simple, but is more going with the flow, if you know what I mean. So all the influences are there, all the ideas and the intentions are there, and that they are easily recognizable. So I think that is something that I achieved with this album, but has been, of course, a challenge. How did I overcome that challenge? I think it was with experience. So you make mistakes and you learn from the mistakes, and you're not gonna make those mistakes in the next album. Even though, as I said before, those mistakes basically they were part of the packaging. So in my previous album, made the music the way it is. Through the years, I learned how to play different instruments, which was both a necessity, but also it was kind of easier in a way because I have a recording studio, so I produced the demo by myself. And those demos, they became always better and better until they were actually the albums, So in the beginning I had musicians playing drums, bass, keys, singing for me. But after now, 15 plus years that I have a recording studio, I figured out that I could actually play those parts by myself. Now, sometimes in the studio I do program drums, but I like to play drums. I'm a drummer, I'm a guitar player as a main instrument, so the drums are my third instrument, so they are not at the same level as the guitar, but I can play drums, and I like to do it and then to edit afterwards in the studio. Some other times I just write in drums, and if I like the way they sound, I keep them the same. So this is actually my process, is like starting the demo from the guitar and then writing drums or playing drums and then playing the bass. The bass is always something that I like to play. The technique is basically the same as the guitar. The overview on the instrument is completely different. It's more related to the rhythm and the groove and the drums, because it's part of the so-called rhythm section. But the writing process is always different, because the first song, In the Air, was an acoustic ballad that I wrote during an acoustic session with my looper. I remember I was back from a US tour, and I had a couple of so-called chill days, so I took the acoustic, I was in the studio, and I was like, okay, let's make an acoustic video. And In the Air came out. And then 2 years after that, so basically last year, I decided to rearrange the song into a instrumental rock ballad. It's not really a ballad, but it's something similar to that. The end is very evil and heavy, which is good because I like the contrast. And the same with all the other songs. But sometimes a song comes out from a session that I do, maybe to promote a company, a gear company that I work with, like Hot On Audio. Maybe I have to do like the soundtrack for their pedal, and demoing that, and then I keep that in my folder, and then maybe next year I'm gonna rearrange that idea, and it comes out as a song, and I'm gonna include that in the new album. This is what happened during this process. Why do I play all the instruments by myself? There are many reasons. One is time-wise, I spare a lot of time sending back and forth ideas. Second is I managed to achieve the idea of the song that I have. In fact, when you have a different drummer or a bass player, which might be better than I am at those instruments, but still they bring in some different influences that are changing the initial idea of the song. So if you want to keep everything as you thought, you have to go and do it yourself, and so basically those are the reasons, sparing time and saving money as well, and that you can use later on in the promotion of the album, and keeping the integrity of your initial vision and idea. Yeah, about live sessions, 2 weeks ago I was in Germany at the Guitar Summit performing, and in 4 days I'm going to leave to Asia. I'm going to play in China. I have different gigs there, both promoting the Revolution of Evolution and my guitar brand, which is called Inspira Guitars. On my way back, we have a break of a couple of months, and then in January I will be touring the US. And in 2026 it's going to be Europe, France in February, and Italy in May. So yes, we do have plans about touring. The touring is not extensive. It's just here and there when I have the opportunity, because I do other things. I have a guitar brand. I work as instructor in different guitar institutes here in Norway. And I work here in the studio. So, but when I have the chance, I go and perform. I love it. I love it both performing my music and performing on my guitars that I designed by myself. So things changed comparing to before. When I was with the band, I was basically touring constantly, but now it's just in some periods. But I need to make sure that I promote the album live, because I still think that the best way to propose your show is live and not behind the camera. Even though I still love to do videos. If you go on my YouTube channel, every week there is a video coming out, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. So, thank you very much for the interview. It was great to talk about the Revolution of Evolution. You can check it out on Spotify and Apple Music and all the DSP on the planet. You can download the digital download from Bandcamp, and you can buy CDs and vinyls from elasticstage.com. I see you on the road or online. Cheers.